Hello, my wonderful viewers, and welcome to another episode of Betty Adams Overanalyzes. Today, we're going to take a kind of thoughtful look at Vice Captain Hoshina from Kaiju number 8, and what we can learn about from his character development, about how Matsumoto tells stories, and maybe a little bit about ourselves. So I was over on BitChute's channel, shout out, he did a great video on Vice Captain Hoshina and Kaiju number 10 and what their bond is like, and that got me thinking, and I commented that one of the things I've really appreciated about Matsumoto's writing is that all of Hoshina's issues that are addressed in this chapter, this need to define himself by this one particular skill set, from everything we've seen, it's all in his head. This is, I don't want to say his fault, but this is his hang-up that he developed. So many authors, when their characters have a character flaw, whether this is mangaka or Western authors, they try to blame it on the world around them, on the environment they grow up in. They blame it on their parents. But in reality, especially by the time you're an adult, you have had a major choice in forging who you are. And we see, many chapters ago, we saw little Hoshina speaking to who is presumably his father, and his father is speaking to him with love and understanding and support. He's like, you have a great skill. You're very skilled, but in this day and age, those skills are not necessary, so you need to find another path. So Hoshina wasn't being abused, he wasn't even being neglected. His father is there tending to him, treating him with love and respect and opening up a path for him. Then later on, when we see Hoshina's commanding officer talk to him, it's the same thing. Your sword skills aren't of much use in this day and age, but you are very valuable to us as a teacher. So this is said with respect, and another pathway is open before him. Then when we see the two boys going at it, Hoshina and his brother, again, there's no malice there. The brother's a bit dismissive, but the brother was out there training with him, probably when he didn't need to be. So we see that for all of Hoshina's life, he's been treated with love. And that wasn't enough for him. He needed to be needed. He needed his existence to have meaning. And somehow, this is a very, very natural urge. Nobody wants to feel they're a burden. And though he wouldn't have, and nobody was saying he was a burden, he had seen one very narrow view of what it is to be useful, of what it is to fulfill what he saw as the legacy passed down to him by his ancestors. To be a kaiju slayer, to be able to take these weapons and go out and slay the kaiju. But he was never as good as his brother. And he felt invisible, despite the fact that we can clearly see that at no point was he invisible. His brother trained with him, his father mentored him, the other officers mentored him. He was not treated as an invisible cast-off second son. He was loved, he was trained, but it wasn't enough for him. Now, for most motivations, there are two sides. There is the not trying hard enough and the trying too hard. And you walk that very narrow path if you're going to succeed, where you're not so overly focused on the one thing that it cripples you, but you are trying hard enough. Hoshina has always tried hard enough, and somehow he got so hyper-focused on being the best that he lost sight of things that he would have enjoyed. And this is a very difficult subject to discuss from a moral angle, because to strive to be the best that you can be is a good. To work to do something noble, like protecting your community, is a good. To push yourself, even to the point where that might result in some harm to yourself, can be a good. But motivations come into question. If you're doing this because you want to protect the community, because you want to be the best that you can be, all well and fine. But as human beings, Pride is a significant factor. Hoshina wanted to be the best, or at least better than his brother. He wanted to be the best in his skill set in his little circle, first in his family, then in the defense force. And because he could not be the best, he went around with a massive chip on his shoulder. Now, because he is a well-rounded, well-adjusted adult, we don't see it like that. We don't see that chip on his shoulder standing out too much because he treats everybody with respect and politeness, but he's carrying around this chip on his shoulder, an irrational resentment for the fact that he cannot be better than he is. He cannot be the best in his friend group. He's second place. And this is where we get that feeling of invisibility. Do you remember the name of the second guy to step foot on the moon? No, you don't. You only remember the name of Armstrong. Well, I mean, maybe if you're a space junkie, you do. But the point is this. People generally only remember the first of something, or maybe the last, but everything in the middle is just a blur. This is a very, very natural human tendency, and everybody knows it. Because his brother was the best at everything, Hoshina grew up feeling invisible, despite the fact that it looks like his father went out of his way to avoid that. So at some point, especially as Hoshina ages out of his family, grows up, the source of this chip on his shoulder, the source of this character flaw, he has to own it. It's on him to overcome this. But like most human beings, he gets set in his ways, and that character flaw is getting deeper and deeper embedded in him. Another way to look at the character flaw is this. Take any less critical task, a sport, a dance. Now, you have many, many, many children who love to dance, and they tell their parents they love to dance, and they go take dancing lessons, and they get into competitive dancing, and it's a very, very classic story. The competition overwhelms their initial love for the dance, and they'll get out there and they'll dance, and it's become a routine, just driving themselves to be the best, the very, very best. But ultimately, in any group, there can only be one, the best, and everybody else who's not the best falls by the wayside. And this is very important, everybody else who's not the best just kind of cease to exist if they've based their entire identity on being the best. But if they can remember that they love dancing for dancing's sake, and they're in a position to maybe even professionally earn their living by doing what they love, it doesn't matter that they are the 15th best dancer in the city of Boston. It doesn't matter that you're the 17th best basketball player in the city of Tokyo. These things, if you are doing it for the love of it, if you're bringing that same, the drive, the self-discipline, but you're doing it for the love of what you're doing, then you can keep going. You won't feel invisible because it is you and the thing you love. And this is a lesson, a moral that Matsumoto has worked into the story so organically that you never see it unless you're the kind of person who overanalyzes things and looks for them. This isn't a preachy lesson. When it's a Disney animated movie about a girl who burns out from the stress of competition and then rediscovers the love of dance through a magic unicorn in the forest, it can feel a little preachy. But true mature writing, and that's what Matsumoto has, there's a level of maturity to Matsumoto's writing that you just don't see in a lot of shonen manga, walks you through a story, and that story is a reflection of reality. And in that reflection of a reality, because you can distance yourself, because the wrapping of the kaiju and the super weapons distances this from you, you can now see not the moral to a story, but the reality of the situation. And this really, really spoke to me because this is something I've struggled with my entire life. I always needed to be useful, and I always wanted to be the best. Drive, drive, drive. Now, fortunately for me, life smacked me over the head with the fact that I was probably never going to be the best in anything. I was always second or third place. And when I was striving to be the best and it was always out of my reach, it was pretty clear I'd burn out. But, I found things to do that I loved. But there is always that feeling, that slight resentment that still kind of haunts me to this day, that I still haven't quite shaken, my own character flaw. And this is one of the reasons that I really see myself in Hoshina, resonate with that one aspect of his character. And I really think it is telling something about how skilled an author Matsumoto is, that Matsumoto is able to tap into these universal human experiences. That sensation that if you're not the best, why are you even doing it? If you can't win the game, why play the game? And the answer is, of course, because you love the game. If you don't love the game and you're not winning, find a different game to play. But what do you think, my wonderful viewers? What have you taken away from Vice Captain Hoshina's story arc so far? Where do you see his character going? Hit that like and subscribe button. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I always love to hear from you guys. Go check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of my book, Humans Are Weird, or Flying Sparks. And peace out, my wonderful viewers. Do you love awesome science fiction books? Of course you do. If you check out the links below the video, you can get yourself a copy of Comedy or Tragedy. Humans Are Weird. I have the data. Humans Are Weird. We took a vote, and Humans Are Weird, Let's Work It Out are the 3 comedy short story books available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Kobo by Rakuten, Google Play. There's even some copies at Powell's Books, the famous used bookstore in Portland, Oregon. Dying Embers, dragons, aliens, and things that go boom in the night, and soon Flying Sparks, more dramatic traditional science fiction novels, are also available at Amazon. Flying Sparks is still on the pre-order page. If you want a copy, you can email me by contacting the website to pre-order yourself a copy. It's still being edited. So check out the links below the video to get yourself a copy of some wonderful science fiction.